A very popular topic, Jim, and I mean very, very popular. We've received a number of emails about this. Have you heard about the comments made about Tony Khan in England from various soccer commentators and apparently even the coach of his own soccer team?
I must admit that I have been sent a variety of these clips on Twitter by folks wanting my comments, and I have honestly not listened as of yet because, to be honest, I just hadn't had time to listen to commentators of a sport that I know very little about telling me why that they don't like Tony Khan in their terminology, and I won't probably get it because I'm offended when people try to say what's wrong with the wrestling business and they don't know what they're talking about. So I don't want to not know what I'm talking about when the soccer comment, and I shouldn't say soccer. I don't want to insult the worldwide Cult of Cornette audience, the football fans out there, everywhere else but America, it's football. But so I haven't heard what they've been saying, but I know by what I have heard that they're not happy with Tony Khan and feel that he is not exactly a football expert. Have I grasped the gist of this?
You have, and we do have some audio, but let me read one of these emails sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Matt Healy. The subject line of the email is Tony Khan, the soccer clown. I'm from London and a big football fan, and it says soccer in parentheses there. My team is Tottenham Hotspur, but there's been some controversy over here regarding Tony Khan.
You know, wait a minute. Now, you got to love a place where a team is called Tottenham Hotspur.
But there has been some controversy over here regarding Tony Khan and his role of director of football at Fulham FC. I've included a video from Sky Sports that will be better at explaining why this is the case than I could. My question is, how can Tony Khan be a booker for a wrestling company, a director of a Premier League football club, which is a very important role and full-time for all teams, and I believe still have a role in the Jaguars' American football team? Surely all roles would suffer, and it seems to me this is the case. I'm sure most Fulham fans are totally unaware that their director of football also runs a professional wrestling company.
Now, wait a minute. That's interesting. Do you think that is the case, that most of the people over there that are fans of this football team don't know that its owner is owner, operator, manipulator, and head booker and bottle washer of a national pro wrestling company over here?
Well, again, he's not the owner. He's the son of the owner, which is why he's got these positions.
Well, you know what I mean.
I don't know. I would gather the majority of those fans aren't wrestling fans, so who knows what awareness they have of what's happening in the world of wrestling, or how full-time the role of a wrestling booker and a promotion, I was going to say promotion owner, but he doesn't own the promotion, his dad does, someone who runs a promotion would be. I mean, it's a full-time job.
Yeah, you think?
Back to his email. I'm sure most Fulham fans are totally unaware that their director of football also runs a professional wrestling company. If they became aware, this would have repercussions on the Khan's ownership of the club. In case you are unaware, Tony's father is the owner of Fulham, a role held previously by the much-hated Mohammed Al-Fayed, the father of Dodi Al-Fayed, who you may remember, Jim.
Wait a minute. He was the consort of Princess Diana, was he not?
Very briefly at the end of her life. I mean, they died together in that car accident in France.
And his father was the previous owner of this football team that is now owned by Tony Khan's father.
His father is a fantastically rich man. I think he owns Harrods.
Holy shit.
But let's hear some of this audio. The name, and again, I'm not familiar.
Is this going to be too technical if we don't know all the rules of soccer / football, or is this can anybody play here?
I can't speak towards the technicalities of what these men will be saying, but these are a couple of their analysts in studio, Carragher and Keane. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I have no idea who these people are. The name of the video is Carragher and Keane's brutal reaction to Fulham director of football's tweet. This is from the Sky Sports Football YouTube page. Let's play this.
Let's talk about the negatives then, before we get on to the Fulham positives that Scott Parker was referring to. This is Tony Khan, who's the director of football and son of the owner, tweeting after the game, "I apologise to Fulham supporters for our performance tonight." I remember you guys were both talking about the defensive susceptibility of Fulham throughout that game. "We've looked to add centre-backs since Wembley, since the playoff final, which was just 5 weeks before the start of this season." He says, "I'm sorry we haven't yet, as two got COVID. We lost a free we thought was close and had another issue with the fourth centre-back. I promise players and better efforts from this squad." He was then challenged about whether that meant he was now looking for his fifth choice centre-back by another fan on Twitter, I presume. And his response, Tony Khan, was to say, either we go for the fifth choice or we wait for the one of the others to recover from COVID. What do you make of that?
He's a clown. I mean, getting involved in that. I mean, that it was a really poor performance. I mean, it was that bad. We were actually laughing at some of the defenders. I mean, Fulham are going down. I've never been more certain about anything in my life, and they need to buy at least 2, maybe 3, 4 defenders. But is he the owner or the CEO?
That's the director of football, who's the son of the owner. I mean, he's trying to engage with fans, isn't he? So what's wrong with that?
It never works. It always ends up in tears. What does Scott Parker think about that? What do those lads who are playing at the back think about that, who've maybe got to play midweek, got to play at the weekend? Just keep your mouth shut. I mean, was he involved a couple of years ago when they bought all these... Exactly. So he was the one who was buying players a couple of years ago when they were like, mess of that. Just shut your mouth, get on with it, keep your head down. It's difficult for them at the moment. They're going to have a tough season. As I've just said before, I don't think... I'm more certain of Fulham going down than Liverpool winning the league.
You're ready to write Fulham off after 3 games?
What we saw there defensively was unbelievable. Fulham were actually fortunate there was another game after them, that we didn't properly analyse the goals. I mean, what we saw from Dennis Odoi was, I mean, it was unbelievable, really, what we saw in terms of the goals. But that doesn't help. That does not help at all. And they were a mess last time they came up. What they don't want to be this year is a mess. They're going to go down, but almost go down together, be a club, stick together. I know people may say...
You talk about engaging with supporters, but you shouldn't be discussing club's business or your transfer targets. That's nobody's business.
He's trying to offer crumbs of comfort, isn't he?
Not after. Well, you got beaten 3-0 at home. Just take your medicine and look at things over the next few days. But, bizarre.
Did you see the positives that Scott Parker was referring to?
No. He must have been watching a different game to me.
Well, there it is, Jim.
I love the way the British speak. Crumbs of comfort. It always ends in tears. Well, I guess the learned soccer football folks are not any happier with his football team as we are with his wrestling promotion. Maybe he ought to do one thing right instead of several things at the same time.
Do you think from what you've seen he tries too hard to make himself a babyface on Twitter?
Well, yes, because here's the thing. The reason why you don't see Vince McMahon constantly explaining himself on Twitter is because of that very reason. I know he means well, but Tony Khan is coming off like one of a fan talking to a fan, or worse, a mark talking to the marks, whether it's in football or wrestling. And, if he's got to explain stuff like that to these people in a sport like football, then imagine it. Why does he wonder why the people who actually like wrestling and who have been longtime wrestling fans are just offended by the shit that they see on his wrestling program, when some of the soccer purists don't even like the stuff they see from his soccer team, and that's a shoot, and they're really trying to win and not doing any hokey shit. He comes off sometimes like Richie Rich.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Mets have just been sold. It hasn't gone all the way through yet. Major League Baseball has to have 23 owners approve it. But they're going from the Wilpon family and the Katz family to a guy named Steve Cohen, who'd instantly be the richest owner in Major League Baseball. Us Met fans have been driven crazy by the Wilpons for numerous things. And a lot of it includes micromanaging, getting involved with things that an owner shouldn't be involved with. You hire a general manager for a reason, not so you can pretend you're the general manager and tell them what to do. And Fred Wilpon, the main owner who bought in 1980, his son, Jeff Wilpon, he put in charge of most things with the team. And every single story, and I started hearing about it.
Now, what was that young man's background in baseball?
He played it at one point in his life when he was younger, and his father owned the Mets. That was his background in baseball. His family comes from real estate, construction. He has no baseball background. He's never. So that
he can build a baseball diamond. He just shouldn't be allowed to coach on one.
That's actually a perfect thing to say. Citi Field, which he oversaw the building of, the Mets Stadium after Shea Stadium, is a beautiful ballpark, a wonderful place to spend an afternoon watching a ball game. The team that he put on the field, that he micromanaged, that he told players if they were injured they had to play, they traded guys for other guys because they thought they knew better and it didn't work out. Stories started coming out. I started hearing about him a long time ago from some of my friends in sports radio that, oh yeah, the other teams, they all laugh at what a horribly mismanaged operation that is because of Jeff Wilpon. And then eventually you started seeing these stories come out in the press, in the media, people talk about them. Now they're gone, but I see a lot of similarities between Tony Khan and Jeff Wilpon.
That was Wilpon. Was that the same Wilpon? I know he was one of the Wilpons that was connected with the Mets that was going to start the big wrestling promotion back 3 or 4 years ago. Remember, he was the last guy that was going to be Tony Khan.
Yeah, I believe.
A billionaire, start a wrestling promotion, give people insurance and benefits and retirement and profit sharing, and the same general list of suspects in the wrestling business that want to believe every other Who Shot John story, believe that one. And that never got off the ground.
Well, you know what it is? It's very easy to promise people lots of things when it's not your money. And that Wilpon, from what I remember, he was maybe a cousin of Jeff Wilpon's.
He was a black sheep Wilpon.
But the entire Wilpon family was affected by the Bernie Madoff scandal because all the things they had been doing for years, from buying out their partner Nelson Doubleday to financing their cable network, to financing their stadium, to deferring contracts like Bobby Bonilla's, that was all with Bernie Madoff money. That was all with made-up money they didn't really have. So after Madoff went kaput, they couldn't properly finance a New York baseball team in a major market. And we've played this game now for over 10 years, and now they're finally gone. But I believe when the Madoff scandal happened is when that other Wilpon in Florida all of a sudden was like, well, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this wrestling project now.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, why was everybody surprised that a guy named Bernie Madoff made off with the money?
They shouldn't have been surprised because anything you hear about, he was promising returns that are ridiculous. Ridiculous. But as I was saying, I see a lot of similarities between Tony Khan and Jeff Wilpon.
How many multimillionaires or billionaires have we heard of in the last 25 years even, much less in all of history, that we're going to start the world's greatest wrestling promotion?
There's been a few, I guess.
I bet if we sat down and thought, I bet we could come up with a list of at least 20. And everybody wonders, why everybody rolls their eyes when they hear these things. And then one of them actually does, and it's worse than anybody. This is probably a worse product, AEW, than any of these other multimillionaires and billionaires would have put out in front of people if they actually had gone through with the Who Shot John they were telling people they were going to do. Because at least they, at all those points, would have not hired these mud show fucks. They would have actually gone out and overpaid for legitimate top talent and thrown the whole salary structure in the business out of whack. But they would have got actual legitimate talent. This is the first time where a promotion has been built specifically around the wrestlers that a couple of the guys want to just fucking hang out and play with. So there's that.
Well, there it is. The question about Tony Khan, the soccer clown, the Jeff Wilpon of soccer, football, and professional wrestling. Let's get another question here.
It always ends in tears.
That was another good line there.